of us that have reached that beautiful place where we have more years behind us than ahead of us, and we recognize that this is our best season. So, we're going to tackle some very important things that as we go through this journey of life and in this moment of transformation, there are areas that we must focus on that are critical to our survival and our success. These areas are in the arena of social, physical, financial, spiritual, and mental. The first thing that I would share with each person that's listening, as you know, one of the biggest challenges that we face, especially in today's high tech environment, there are lots of threats. And when I say threats, I mean things that are in the area of uh, artificial intelligence that they've turned against people, threats as it relates to overt and covert solicitation and deceptive practices that are all over the place. So, one of the things that we have to do, it's very critical now more than ever that we are sharp and that we are aware of the things that are going on around us. It's really crazy. My wife and I recently took a trip, and we were on this trip along with my one of my sons, and we're driving. So this is a driving trip, a road trip. I'm not sure if you've gone on many of those road trips, but they can be a trip. When you are in a confined space with people for an extended period of time, you better make sure you love those people because that can be a real crazy time. But anyway, what was interesting is we pulled over to a rest stop and there was this incredible warning. And the warning basically said, in the event that you receive a text message saying that you owe money for tolls, do not respond to it because it's a scam. I looked at that and I'm thinking, how is this possible that there are so many scams that are like out here? They're just crazy. So it's almost like the scam where you receive the repeated number of medical bills, right? You go to see a doctor or you go to a outpatient facility, you have any type of procedure done, and all of a sudden you're receiving like 8 or 9 different bills and no one can keep track of whether or not the bill has been paid. So even though you know you paid the bill comes again and again and again. One of the things we know as we reach the point in life where our name means something and our reputation and our credit and all those things, we value them. What's interesting is that these companies can bill us repeatedly because they know that in certain age categories we actually pay bills, and so they will send them, and if you're not keeping up with them, it can actually cost you a great deal of money, and trying to retrieve that money is sometimes a nightmare. Another interesting thing, and I'll just share this since I mentioned the importance of keeping our credit in order. If you haven't done this, this is something to look at doing because it's very critical to protect yourself. At this point in life, you have to do two things. You have to enrich, you have to advance, and you have to protect. Those are critical. There's a movie instead of a book today. I'm going to recommend that you watch a movie. And this particular movie is called The Beehive. And in The Beehive, it talks very specifically about the import or demonstrates very specifically how important it is to protect yourself, especially when you're over the age of 40. It's probably, and as you get to 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, protection is going to be critical, and you have to be aware of the tricks that are out there trying to undermine your stability, if you will. So one of the things that I want to encourage each person to do is go on to Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax and lock your credit. You can it is free, absolutely free. It's called freezing it. And so when you go or locking it, freezing it, I believe is the correct word because that one is free. They have credit lock, which is a price or it's a service that you have to pay for, but to freeze your credit based on all the crazy things that are going on in the world, the federal government actually mandated that the credit reporting agencies provide this particular feature for free to everyone. So if it even costs $5, that's the wrong one. You want to go to Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, and in their search bar, you want to type the word freeze. And when you type in the word freeze, and enter it, then it'll take you to the section so that you can freeze your credit. And what that does, that will stop anyone from using your name, your phone number, etc., and trying to access your credit. Because without it being frozen, they actually, and they being those nefarious individuals all around the world, they have direct access to your credit and they can actually put you in a very challenging situation. So don't wait for it to happen. Take action. This is a part of the wisdom that we carry, and go forward and freeze your credit. And now, what that would entail is, or what the consequence of that would be this: in the event that you then need to apply for credit, let's say you were going to open an Amazon Visa card, or a Prime credit card, or an American Express card, you would have to temporarily unlock your, or unfreeze your credit report so that they could verify that it's you. And then once they approve you, you can freeze it again. And it's a very simple, easy process. So, one of the things that we have to guard as we age, one of the things is our mind. It is very important that we recognize that we must be lifelong learners. It's not how you look, it's not how you feel, it's not what you're thinking, it's what you're reading and learning. I want you to know that learning is going to be critical. In the old days, when the world was less aggressive, if you will, less adversarial, you could actually achieve a level of success and kind of coast your way through the remainder of life. Not anymore. Literally, the way that it works, no matter what you achieve, the environment, the economy, taxes, all these different things basically poke holes in your accumulated bucket and siphon from it whatever it is that you have. So, literally, failing to continue to grow and evolve and transition will actually cost you more in the long run. Why is this important? I'm speaking directly to those of us that are over the age of 50. Although the podcast is focused on those that are over the age of 44, once you get to 50, you've accumulated a little more than the average person. By the time you get to 60, you're probably, if you look among your peers, younger and older, you're probably right in a wonderful place if you've been able to maximize your time on the planet. If that is the case, you have to protect it. And the way that you'll do that is with lifelong learning. You want to study, you want to read. There are people, of course, we know that have not had the luxury of being able to learn and read. There are people that have reading limitations. And the great thing about life now, no matter what your limitation, you can still thrive and succeed in today's economy. The way that it works, there are tools for everything. So if a person has difficulty reading, then we move as though we had no vision, and we, or no eyesight, and we use audio. We learn using audio books and audio tapes. I believe the most critical thing that we can do right now is to treasure our time, because time is so very valuable. And the time that we would normally waste, I remember the days watching world news, 60 Minutes. That was a time when the world was very innocent and there wasn't a hidden agenda behind the commentary. It seemed to be more normal. At this point, please know that If you are not holding a book in your hand to read and you're simply watching television, you are still being taught. But more likely than not, if it's traditional media, you're being taught something that will not have significant enhancement or value, life value. So we have to take the initiative and become and then remain lifelong learners. Mind you, we've only touched on the mental portion. So the lack of reading is extremely, extremely costly. There is another thing that is very costly, and that's the lack of writing. Writing is going to be one of the most critical skills that we have. If we have the ability to write, don't put that down. It's very easy in this world of high tech for us to scroll and text and abbreviate words and use emojis. But the less of our brain that we're using, the more risk we run for issues and conditions such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. These are diseases and disorders that have a great deal to do with the functioning of our brains. So, your brain is one of the greatest assets that you have, and the brain must continue to be active. We've got to use it. So, that is why little games like Tetris, problem solving, if like crossword puzzles, those are critical to keep your brain going. Trivia, playing trivia games, games like Scrabble, games where you have to think. And then we take it a step further and we do things for fun that enhance our executive reasoning. So that's doing things like going to murder mystery dinners, where you get a chance to go to a beautiful restaurant in your city and you're actually able to participate. You go in for a dinner, and while you're at dinner, eating, just as they're serving dessert, a crime occurs in the restaurant. And then the actors come and they act out this incredible drama, and they challenge you to figure out who done it. Those are very valuable things. And even though it seems odd, mystery movies, if you're a movie buff, movies that are challenging you to think, like not thrillers where they're just frightening you, because that's not good. The neuroreceptors that actually govern fear and fright are not healthy. So you want to be careful with overindulgence in things that are gory and dramatic. And you want to spend time building your mind. There are only two more points that I want to make, and one is regarding artificial intelligence. One of the things that we know is that artificial intelligence, or AI, it's actually here. It's not going anywhere. And I remember when I was young in school age, so maybe third, fourth, fifth grade, we had just started being given calculators, and they were just the big, bulky, simple calculators, not like scientific calculators that they later begin to give away to the children. My children had scientific calculators where they were doing algorithms and roots and all kinds of squared, and it was just crazy. I just looked at those. Math was never my thing. Which speaks to a point that we all have something that's not our thing. And once you figure out what that is, you find ways to work around it. You use the tools that are available. So there, whatever the issue that may be your weakness, does not necessarily have to be a weakness. It just may be an area where you're not strong. And if you're not strong, then you implement the tools and the techniques and the resources that are available to make you strong. Artificial intelligence is going to be around from now on. Billions and even trillions of dollars are being invested in artificial intelligence. And what they're saying is companies are now in their hiring. My wife and I run a pretty involved business, and what's interesting, we have to hire and we have to fire too. But one of the things that's really interesting is even as a business owner, you have to listen to what's going on in the world. And just in listening on one of the radio stations on Sirius, one of the business stations, they were talking about corporations that are now looking during their recruiting process for candidates that are experienced in AI, candidates that are not afraid of AI, that have a working knowledge of it. And one of the things that they look for is the fact that they understand how to be time efficient using AI, but yet they know the strategies, the back end strategies, so that they are not relinquishing their brains to AI. I'm going to encourage each person, if you're on and you have not had an opportunity to start learning about AI, that's an important thing. It can actually save you a great deal of stress and anguish, and it becomes, in essence, a repository for information. It is not that you have to know everything, just like when they gave us the calculator. The teachers used to say, "Oh my God, this calculator, you're not going to be able to use this when you're older. You're going to have to know how to do math." And man, did that ever cause a lot of stress. And what was crazy is the teachers were wrong. The teachers were wrong. Calculators were not a fleeting fancy, they weren't a fad or a trend. Actually, they became a part of the culture, not just in America, but around the globe. Calculators are a worldwide item, just as AI is becoming a worldwide item. The reason this is important is if we don't learn how to use technology and how to use the tools that innovation brings to the table, then we will be automatically placed in the back. And there is no reason to have lived this period of time, accumulated the wisdom, the skill sets, the deductive reasoning, well, I mentioned the wisdom, just the strategic executive reasoning, to have accumulated all of this through the school of hard knocks, lessons learned, mistakes and trials and setbacks. You've learned so much. You can't allow a lack of knowledge to push you to the back of the bus. This is actually your moment to advance in a very, very special way. Now, what's interesting, when I was getting ready for today's podcast, I was trying to identify the areas that are very important. And I told you that there are five: social, mental, physical, financial, and spiritual. But we only were able to cover the mental. So I want to wrap this session up by just covering the physical. And in the next episode, I'm going to go through two more and then a third episode, which will cover the elixir of life, which is your spiritual well being. And this is all important at this point in our lives. But as it relates to your physical, your body is a temple. And this is where you actually reside. You are not actually your body. You are a spiritual being that resides inside of a shell. With that being said, this shell or this temple, it requires that you take care of it. You can't treat the temple as though it doesn't have value, or you can't treat it like it's something that you're going to get a replacement part. The fact of the matter is, in the event that you don't take care of this temple, if you don't stay healthy, if you don't stay fit, if you don't make sure you're eating right and you're getting the proper amount of rest, the fact of the matter is there is no guarantee that your temple will hold up. And one of the critical things in the aging process is you have to stay healthy. So that's going to require walking, that's going to require resting, it's going to require relaxation. But the detriments, or one of the things that could cause a great challenge for us, is the excessive um, uh, comfort, if you will, failing to engage and utilize our bodies because we prefer to stay in relaxed mode. Now, with that being said, we have to close, and I have to acknowledge our sponsor, Care Michigan. Care Michigan is a case management and care coordination company based in the city of Troy, and they specialize in working with individuals that have been severely injured in motor vehicle accidents. If you or anyone you know has been severely injured in a motor vehicle accident, have them call Care Michigan at 833-696-2626 and let them know that you heard about them on the No Time to Waste podcast. Until our next episode, remember, keep your mind. It is the guiding post of our lives. Don't let anyone cause you to fail to consistently and continuously improve. Now, let's go and seize the day.